Hey, Plymouth Park UMC, it's Marcus Womack here, your pastor. I'm joined today with a guest, our lay leader and ministry council co-chair, Mike Harris. Mike, thanks for joining me. We wanted to follow up from the town hall and potluck we had on Sunday. It was wonderful. We had nearly 90 people there. We had to add 3 extra tables, and we had more food than we could have ever wanted. Thank you again if you brought food. Thanks for making the time. But we also know some folks weren't able to make it, so we wanted to give you this recap of the time we spent together. A lot of what we talked about was following up from the survey we sent to you and that you filled out. Thank you for filling out those surveys, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike to talk about a lot of what we heard from you.
Well, thank you all so very much for submitting the feedback on the survey. We had 116 people that responded, and it was great to get all of that feedback. You know, there's no way a 12-person committee can ever have all the voices and all of the ideas, and so it was great to have so many people respond. And so just kind of want to let everybody know how much, first of all, that we appreciated that information. But then to kind of let you know what we did with that. So last Saturday, the Ministries Council, we met here. We spent a couple of hours literally just reading every word that was submitted, going through all of the checkbox stuff, but then all the comments part especially. And that's what we really spent a lot of our time reading through to get that. So one of the things, just to kind of let you know, there was a lot of commonality, a lot of themes that we saw. Overall, the responses were very positive and very helpful information. One of the things that really jumped out, it was that the church is seen as very welcoming, friendly, inclusive, and accepting. Those words got used over and over, and checking the box specifically about those words and things. That was just one of those things that just came through more and more and more. We had over 90% of the respondents that said that they stay here at Plymouth Park because of the members and the sense of family or community that we have. Anybody that's done work with surveys knows it's pretty uncommon to get 90% of anything on any survey.
Pretty remarkable.
So for 90% to say that it is truly the family and the community, the members that keep people here. We love our staff, and we have an awesome staff, and we are very thankful for our staff. But from a ministries council standpoint, it's exciting to see that people are here because of the other people, not just because of the itinerant minister who could be leaving. But in future years, that can happen.
Yeah, but you're the church.
Absolutely.
And you're here because you are the church, and that's a huge blessing.
Absolutely. So that was exciting for us to see. In looking at some of the ministries that happen at the church, the ones that were kind of the highest rated current ministries we have, children's and youth, I don't think anybody was shocked or surprised at that. The circles that are involved here, they got a lot of comments and a lot of feedback, and the garage sale did as well. So those were kind of some of the most frequently mentioned current ministries. We got a lot of good suggestions on future ministries as well. Now, there's a lot of those, and we're still kind of processing through that. We didn't leave Saturday with here's our to-do list kind of thing just yet, but we got those. We're still digesting through those and trying to figure out exactly what to do with all of those, and which ones are most feasible, which ones are most practical, which ones can happen first, all that sort of things. But the kind of the overall theme of what we saw with those, the ones that kind of got the most attention were service type things, were days of service or go out and do kind of ministries. And so that was kind of what was most heavily reported.
Yeah, sometimes you think about it as like the hands-on kind of ministry, like repairing things in homes or helping people have food, things like that. And while there were so many other good ideas that came from you and recommendations, there was such good coalescing themes around that way of hands-on ministry.
Absolutely. So, there were certainly things that were brought to our attention, and we're going to work on those. And we're, like I say, that's always helpful to get that feedback and things, especially because there were things that, as a committee, we hadn't necessarily thought of or weren't necessarily aware of at that same level of the comments that were made. There were several different comments that kind of fall under the theme of communication.
Right.
And we start looking at communication about how we communicate with what I'm going to call the insiders, those of us inside, and reminders of events and things like that. And then how we communicate with those outside of our church and how we let them know about who we are and what we do and those sort of things. So two different types of communication, but a lot of the comments sort of fell under that theme of communication. So kind of the next steps, so you know what we do now. The Ministries Council is planning to have a survey available for our neighbors that come and participate in the egg trunk hunt in a couple of weeks on Palm Sunday. We want to be able to see what our neighbors say about us. We were able to survey the insiders to see who we are, what we do, and what we think we ought to be doing. But we want to talk to our neighbors to see who they think we are and what they wish we were doing. And so kind of take that survey, get those results, kind of match it up against this survey, and then that will really kind of guide us and direct us in what we do next. One of the most exciting things that we saw in the survey was there was absolutely a strong overall sense of what we want our church to be about. I called it, there was very much a common want of our church. And so from the Ministries Council, that's huge, because now, as long as we're all wanting the same things, well, now then let's go do that. It's harder if they had all these divergent of thoughts about what we ought to be doing and what we ought to be about. Then it becomes an issue, well, how do we sort of put some fences around that, and how do we kind of coalesce an idea? That's already there.
Absolutely.
So the theme of who we are, being that welcoming church, that desire of who we want to be, and that serving church and that going out church, that was very much a united theme, and so that was very exciting for us. And so now we're going to do this next survey and see how all that matches up and what we end up doing come fall and next year.
Absolutely. Mike, thank you for all that information.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for responding to the survey. If you came to the town hall and potluck, as Mike said, we're going to survey our neighborhood, and as we think about those recommendations and thoughts about what we maybe want to be about and some actions we may want to take, either that's deepening some things we already do, or if that's new ideas or things we've done in the past that we want to bring new life into and try again. Surveying our community is going to be essential to that, to make sure that whatever we're doing as the hands and feet of Christ here at Plymouth Park UMC, we're meeting the needs of our neighbors, and also hopefully deepening that work of the greatest commandment, to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbors with such deep intentionality. The time we're going to follow up with that, we do have a date in mind for that. May 19th is Pentecost Sunday, and that is also connected to the founding of our church back in 1956. So we're going to invite you to worship that day as an entire church family, and then have another potluck again. We're really leaning into the potlucks here, folks, but it's good to share a meal around the table. But then to talk about what we heard from our neighbors, and alongside that, not just to say, well, this is what they told us, but to really celebrate and give God thanks for, at this point, friends, 68 years of ministry and presence in Irving, Texas, and the reach our church has had, not just in Irving, but beyond. So we want to give God thanks for every year of our church's ministry, really have a bit of a birthday party for our church, and talk about, okay, we've listened to one another as best we can. We want to listen to the neighborhood now and where it is 68 years later, and how are we going to continue to be the light of God's love here in Irving? And so your participation, your being the church in that, is essential. So we hope you'll look forward to that on May 19th. So yeah, I think the last things I hope you know is, in general too, we did mention that there's a general conference coming up April 23rd into early May for the United Methodist Church. We don't anticipate a whole lot of changes here at our local church with that. There is some hopes for maybe some adjusting of what the United Methodist Church does to administer our denomination globally, and how the United States is administered in those things. But no, if you have questions about that general conference, or if you have any other follow-up questions about the survey that we've done, or maybe you had other questions that weren't addressed either at the town hall or in this video today, please follow up with me. You can email me or call the church office and set an appointment to meet with me. And Mike, I think you're available to answer questions and talk as well.
Happy to answer any questions. You're welcome to email or call me as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for watching this video. Mike, thanks for your time walking us through. And we'll see you soon, friends. Peace.
Take care.